Hiya, this video is about, well, like the title says, divorcing the propaganda matrix. It's two different societies. Just want to make myself a bit more comfortable. See, the attempt to do something on the scale of class war is fraught with difficulty. And more likely than not, much more likely than not, just keep trapped in the propaganda matrix. And that's not what I want at all. So, if I don't want to be trapped in the propaganda matrix, fighting it's a very bad idea, because you can do it down, but you're not really working on yourself. I'll to give you an example. Someone like Yoko Ono now, she's still alive, so I'll give her as the example rather than her dead husband. She says like, oh well, people who are the best revolutionaries spend years working on themselves. She basically thinks that so she wants a revolution, but the crucial caveat, if we just had, more likely than not, if there was a revolutionary attempt, she'd want both sides to lose, because the side that was causing the revolution, trying to trigger the revolution, would not have done any work on themselves, not 1 second. Where she's thinking like, well, John did 10 years. So you have to become self-aware, because she'd say if you don't become self-aware, what happens? You just go for the wealth and power that the existing state superstructure has, no different to them. You go for all the state machinery they have. You go for the news media they have, all the megaphone propaganda voice. You go for all the military killing machines they have. You don't give any of this up. So what do you become? No different to them. All the ingredients that make the state superstructure evil is what you become. So she's a revolutionary, and I agree with her on this, but not in, she doesn't think even hardly any or never has a revolution been the way she wants it to be, or the way I would want it to be. In other words, humans, when they go for power, 99.999% of the time are all as bad as each other. There's that little glimmer of hope, a little speck of light, that somewhere humans will have self-awareness. Now, I'm not saying that nobody has self-awareness, but there's not enough of it. There's not enough. So most who, inevitably, if you put a large group of people together and they go for power, the ones who are self-aware of what's going on here will be the minority, not the majority. You see that with the existing state superstructure propaganda matrix, which is basically effing evil. It has no self-awareness. And that's the same with us. We are all scum. Anyway, so the thing to do is to divorce that, because we're potentially that. And like I say, so you can see why, by the way, Yoko Ono and Lennon did these things that I admit, and they admit too, are gimmicky, but nevertheless, these pacifist sit-ins as non-compliance, non-cooperation, and also being friendly to the existing power structure figures within it, being kind and nice to them, was because they just wanted to be, they think they had to lead by example. They didn't think that they had to beat the crap out of them. And they just think they have to lead by example. And so by just being pacifists, that is it. That is it. Not perfect pacifists. Lenin would admit that if someone attacked him, he'd defend himself. But there's a difference between that and empire building. There's a difference between this as something that's got some height and Mount Everest. Right, so my only answer, the only answer when I think about all of this, is divorce. it's not that the propaganda matrix becomes irrelevant. Not irrelevant. It becomes like something that is seen through and it's now perceived as different. Right? It can't be hated. Now, I'm not saying I've never hated the propaganda matrix. I'm going to sit here and lie. I have. But it's not a good idea. A lot of projection in hate, a heck of a lot. It is a criminal racket. It's mind possessing for its own benefit while pretending to be good. It's all through itself. It's all about power and getting hold of that power. They're the most criminal, corrupt, selfish entity in the UK, or in the US if you're American, but not hated, because where does it get you to hate something? Why does it get me to hate something? Hate's a powerful word. If I hate something, how does that make me feel? The answer to that question is that it makes me feel uncomfortable at best, teeth grinding at worst. It feels like your mind's possessed. Now, and therefore you fall into the propaganda matrix's trap, because that's what it wants. It wants a mixture of that and conformity. But conformity is a more complex word here than normal. By hating it or by conforming to it, it's like the same thing, really, because it just wants its relevance. It wants its validation. It wants and needs its it to be consumed. It's very selfish. I don't understand where this comes from. It's ego, and more effing ego. And ego isn't a mature thing, it's an immature thing at this level. Oh, goodness me. It's off the Richter scale. So, I mean, like, to not divorce it would make me the same. Now, I put a question to myself, because I've made notes about this, just so I don't miss anything out. But rendering all of that world as irrelevant sacrifices knowledge you have gained about it, yes. Well, I don't go for irrelevant, I go for different. It's a divorce. Like I said, it's a divorce. So it's not. It continues to exist, and I see it as one thing. So a big difference from when I was in this journey, when I was developing but hadn't got as far as I am now. When I got quite a long way along, but not as far as I am now. I would have seen the propaganda matrix as consisting of this bit here, this bit here, this bit here. You know, like left, right, that kind of crap. System left, system right. It's all one thing. So it's symbolic associations. It's symbolic objects that are all one thing. I mean, they try to look different. Propaganda tries to make everything look like something it's not. But they are all one thing. So that's how I look at it differently. I divorce from it. I don't hate it anymore. I divorce from it, and it's all one thing. So it's a vile criminal world. But as all criminal networks do, they try to make themselves look closer to candy floss than a vile criminal world, literally. I don't want anything to do with that Orwellian world. I put a question here, you can't deny their existence. And I don't. They're a prison. They're a mind prison that I've escaped from. They exist for themselves, mind possessing others who cannot see through and have not escaped the prison. They need liberating. That's their issue. That's their problem. I haven't got any more energy for helping anyone to escape that place. Dickens once referred to a tale of two cities. I'm referring to a tale of two societies. two minds, one mind possessed, one mind free. I'm not even that curious about them anymore. This isn't a hypocritical thing. You say, why discuss them then? This is a closure. This video is a closure. It's a finality. This is a conclusion. This is, after this, that's it. You know what I mean? This is just, this video will just be watched by me perhaps as a refresher. That's about it. That'll be about my involvement with a propaganda matrix. You know, just like, you know, similar how think about North Korea perhaps. So I put here that returning to the point about sacrificing knowledge. Is that like sacrificing my own ego? Answer, yes. Because you build up a lot of knowledge. Now, I want to get one thing clear here. When I don't regret having had this ego and having that one, all its knowledge associations in here, because when you, in my experience, psychology, my own experience of psychology, don't care what anyone else thinks, whether they agree with this or disagree with it. In my own experience, building up the ego was necessary to function in the world, get through it. But it was also painful, dissociable because of all this shit. Nevertheless, it was a necessary stage of development for me. But what I have taken too long on doing is killing that ego, because you have to create the ego to function, but you also have to then sacrifice it to continue functioning. And that is what I've taken far too long to do. By the way, Carl Jung agrees with this. This is how he sees it as well. So, yeah, the sacrificing of knowledge, sacrificing the ego, yeah, it's the same thing. And for a bloody long time, I felt like that was like, I can't do that. It'd be like sacrificing it'd be like ego death. Well, it is ego death. But the only difference is now I can see that it's worth doing. It's strange because I admit that in the past that sounded like terrible. It was almost as bad as dying, literally. Now I understand that that's how I felt, but now I don't feel that at all. It just shows how different perception can be, even in the same person. But yeah, I've got beyond that. Now I think it's well worth doing. Now, this very moment is the time to kill my ego. I put here a question to myself. So the propaganda matrix is overcome, but you don't deny that some people will rely on some of the state benefits, if not to live, to at least exist. I put answer, whoosh, exclamation mark. I will resist sarcasm as my answer and say instead that we can better that. People need pointing to where little work will equate to them getting more money than they get for universal credit in the UK. Not get much. You can get more online. It's simple and it works. Now, just to be clear, I do know how to get bits of money online, and while I couldn't list here what I do exactly 100% to definitely get more than universal credit, I think that because I have worked out this bit on my own, that I consider how vast the internet is, it doesn't take much more to say, well, and here, and here, and here, and then you'll have more than that. You know what I mean? Because I've worked this bit out on my own, and the internet is the world online. See what I mean? So in other words, while I could point to some places, some people could say to me, hey, Paul, you don't know about this, and point there. You don't know about this, point there. So just like I can point there, they could point there. And you see what I mean? You can. So it's, and this is where it's like easy work. It's still work, but it's not going it's like stuff that people can do. You can accumulate the amount you do. Anyone can do it. If you accumulate it, you can definitely. Yeah, and of course, from a class war perspective, this isn't good enough, right? But that's their battle. I'm out with the propaganda matrix. I'm out with the class war stuff. I think that, as I said at the start of the video, the problem with class war is a lack of self-awareness when do the revolution part. Now, you see, if they could have solved that, then fine. But when the position we're in, I'm in the position I'm in. My choice is stick around in the propaganda matrix with this revolution that will never happen. And if it started off, I'd want both sides to lose, or divorce. I choose divorce. I choose divorce for mental health reasons. And I'm discussing this here, not as a contradiction, but as a closure, as a finality. I asked myself a question here. What is the key to rendering the propaganda matrix irrelevant? And I answered, that's a key question, yeah. The answer is to withdraw the power projection side, which means kill one's own ego. That means kill one's own knowledge and attachment to that knowledge. Very important. So I'm going to repeat that. Killing one's own ego means killing my own knowledge in terms of my attachment to that knowledge. So you can't unlearn 2 add 2 equals 4, but you can unattach from it. It has no emotional or triggering psychological attachment. That kills the hate projection as well. By seeing oneself as potentially as bad as the propaganda matrix, where you just normalize your own power as if it's not bad, that renders me potential scum. I'm not being silly when I say it. I can imagine some people think, you know, I don't mean it. I do mean it. So I do mean it. So it deletes the hate and it deletes the knowledge. Well, it doesn't delete the knowledge, but it deletes the attachment to the knowledge. So the knowledge becomes pretty irrelevant. Like 2 or 2 equals 4. So the key is oneself, yeah. It's one's ego killing. That is so I want to underline it. I know I've underlined it already. I want to say it again. The key to this conclusion, the key to this finality is killing the ego, killing the knowledge attachments that in me. If you said, well, the propaganda matrix is a bad thing though in your mind, yes, Paul, I'd say, yes, but I've divorced from it. I'm outside, I've escaped from the mind prison. So it's those 2 things. That's the second thing. Killing the ego knowledge so that I have got less, I've got no hate about that. It still exists, the propaganda matrix, but I am free from it. The 2 things that entangle the me, ego, my knowledge, my attachments are inextricably linked to the propaganda matrix, its associations, etc. I have to withdraw the projection so that I am not projecting onto the state superstructure propaganda matrix. I want to try and make this even simpler. Imagine someone who, I don't know, was born into a family, had no interest in power politics or any of that crap whatsoever. That person's always been free from the propaganda matrix. They know it exists, but it's 2 and 2 equals 4. It's just something that's just so, I'm not interested in that crap. Sort of that attitude. So it's like that. They don't have to withdraw the projection because they never had it in the first place. That's not the way their ego developed. Their ego might have developed some other way. Sports, exercise all the time, keeping fit, actually having a healthy life. Yeah, because lucky them. Keeping their body exercised with sports exercise and being free from the propaganda matrix, so therefore having a healthy mind. Lucky them. So that's what you've got to do. Yeah. That's the healthy way to live. So I put here a question. Yeah, so I've escaped it. I've escaped the symbolism. I've escaped the prison. Have to do both me and other. It's not me good, them evil. Right? It's not that. It's not me good, them evil. It's all evil. They're just symbolic of it. That's all. But I can't feel bitter towards it, really, because it was necessary to learn that I had to sacrifice the ego, and that is the path I went down. It's both my fault and their fault, but it's it's not my fault that it existed in the first place, but it's my fault if I don't free myself from it. That's my responsibility. And to free myself from it is to liberate myself. I just need to give this more petrol. Yeah, to free myself from it. Yeah. Let me get a note. I did write them. Yeah, it's like getting rid of poison inside myself. That's the closure. One final question when you see here. Yeah, so when I see here objects now, images, associations to the propaganda matrix, won't it just send me back into it psychologically? No, they symbolize the prison, the mind prison, nothing else. There's no doubt in my free mind about this. They are other people's problem now, i.e., mind imprisoned people's problem. It'll remind me of that other people still have this problem. I don't. I do see other people's problem. For example, online, I see the way they talk. I can see that they're in the propaganda matrix and they're imprisoned in it and trapped in it and they can't escape it. And they're going around in circles. And I can see that that's pretty much normalized for millions of people. And what a complete waste of time. The propaganda matrix won't give a shit. No, it won't give a shit. It pretends to. It thinks, oh, we're really trying to help you. We really are. We really are. And like, I'm thinking, hang on, what they're saying is nothing like what you're even saying. So how are you trying to help them? They'll only be bloody healthy, when something happens that they want to happen. And I do, oh God, it's so obvious. So it's Orwellian. You know what I mean? You can't say that you're bloody governing for people who are totally wanting something totally different for 80 years, the whole life, and then you just die. In what way has that been representative? They claim that they're representative of the people, yet what they're saying is, we know what's damn good for you. We know, not you. So you might say that we're not doing good for you, but we damn well are. We know best. That's what they're saying. And they're admit, or get this, sometimes they pretend that's what the other lot in the propaganda matrix are like. No, it's what you're all like. It's not freedom. It's certainly not freedom to think, to feel like you're not being represented for your whole life by people who claim to be representing you and working in your interest. That is not freedom. The mind does count. It's 50% of us, mind and physical. I don't think they look after people physically either. Total divorce, this. The propaganda does not become irrelevant as if it's gone like smoke, like and it just disappears in the air in front of you. It becomes something else, something different to what it was before. It becomes one thing, and less not hate it because that's the ego. I have to see myself as potentially like them. You know, like it's that thing that you can become if you get introduced to power and you become an insider, then you basically compromise and dilute, and then or maybe it's even completely vanquish, maybe not completely vanquish your principles. And then you're basically one on that inside. You can basically be bought with a mixture of money and prestige and status, and then that's it. That's it. So it's not really representing anyone. What it's doing is it's giving people power, and then they get told what power they now have. So, for example, some Andrew Yang, he said he actually managed to experience that taste and still not see through it until later. He thought that it was just that it hadn't developed far enough for the state to deliver for the people, like the people hadn't evolved far enough. But then he saw that the people wanted various things, most obviously, but not only universal basic income, and they still didn't deliver. And now, only now, even after he's been in and sucked up to it, only now does he see that that the state has a way of functioning irrespective of elections and polls and what people want or anything like that. And therefore, there isn't that connection between any representation, so to speak. It's just existing. It doesn't. I always want to say the perfect line to underline what he's saying. You know, like I underline in this video. What he's basically saying is the state exists for itself. It doesn't exist for you. And he's adding a personal note to that. He's saying, I honestly didn't even realize that. So in other words, Yang admits he fell for it. He was in the propaganda matrix. Where he's at now, I'm not quite sure because I'm not Andrew Yang, right? I don't know him personally or anything. I just get these bits and pieces, but he has realized that much. He has realized that much. Now, see, like, if you said, well, therefore, hasn't he realized everything? Well, Yang's got this, he's got one foot in that world and one foot in this world, therefore, because he's got so many contacts from that world. I can see I think he's probably, my guess, just a guess, and I might be totally wrong, someone else, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong, just my guess, is that he's conflicted. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong on that. So the mind can get locked up inside the propaganda matrix. It's very Orwellian. You know, it's not a case of make Orwell fiction again. It's always been like this. What Orwell did was make fiction taken from reality. That's how he sees it. So although some people might joke, make Orwell fiction again, Orwell already saw his fiction as based on real life. So propaganda matrix becomes like another nation. Yeah, they have the same thing. So it's like becomes like 2 and 2 equals 4. And it's all one thing. And my world is a totally different world. It just isn't connected. No connection. I mean, you could say, okay, you're still shopping in the same shops, Paul, as the people in the propaganda matrix. Yeah. If two people, real human people, get a divorce, they still shop in the same shops and they still breathe the same oxygen as each other, still share that. But the connection, the real connection up here, is gone totally. That's the big difference, and it's similar in this. That's why I call it divorce, because the divorced human couple will think that the other person was getting in their heads and being a twat. That's exactly what this is. Yeah, and they'll think it was corrupt. The other person was corrupt. But I go a bit further than that. It's completely corrupt. A mega criminal racket, and it's a divorce. My final word is divorce. End of video. No, divorce.